Ethan Carter was not the kind of person who expected his life to take sudden, strange turns, but the universe had a sense of humor. He had spent most of his career studying alien biology on the bustling interstellar research station, a place where humans were often the odd ones out. And yet here he was, staring at Zyra, a young Virely whose glowing eyes and iridescent skin shimmered under the station's soft lighting. Zyra was not dangerous, at least not intentionally, but she was clearly struggling. Her antennae twitched nervously, and her body emitted soft, shifting colors that seemed to signal moods humans couldn't even begin to understand. Ethan had learned a little about the Virely over the years. Their species was known for intense emotional cycles, especially during what they called mating season, a period that caused overwhelming physical and psychological changes. For humans, it was a puzzle. For Virely, it was normal. Ethan approached cautiously, holding up a hand. "Hey, Zyra, I think I can help." "You don't have to do this alone. I just want to help." With a deep breath, he began to speak slowly, explaining his plan. "I've made a little device. It will help stabilize your environment, keep the pheromones from spreading too much, and hopefully make you feel a bit more comfortable." The fact that Ethan had taken the time to create something tailored for her, rather than forcing her to adapt to human norms, earned him a flicker of trust. Slowly, cautiously, she allowed him to place the device nearby. Ethan watched as the small device hummed quietly. It emitted a gentle field that absorbed excess pheromones, keeping the air around them clear. The Virely's glowing skin dimmed to a more neutral shade. "See," he said, smiling, "not so bad, right?" "I'll take that as a compliment." He was used to aliens thinking humans were strange. Humans were curious, inventive, sometimes reckless, but above all, adaptable. In a universe filled with species who had evolved over millions of years to thrive in their own ways, human ingenuity often made the impossible possible. Over the next hour, Ethan helped Zyra adjust to the device and explained simple techniques for managing her mood cycles. He suggested breathing exercises, slight movements to release tension, and methods to focus her thoughts away from the overwhelming instincts that came with mating season. Zyra listened, fascinated, occasionally asking questions in her musical tongue, which Ethan slowly learned to understand. "You humans, you are fragile," she said at one point, "but your minds, they adapt. And sometimes it gets us into trouble too." He didn't mention that being adaptable often meant being in over one's head, a truth he knew all too well. By the time the station's artificial sun dimmed into evening mode, Zyra's condition had stabilized enough for her to move around without danger. She walked beside Ethan as he guided her through the narrow corridors of the research wing. Her glow was calm now, like a soft lantern. Despite her physical differences, there was a grace to her movements, a beauty in the way her species had evolved to express emotion so vividly. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for helping me." Humans are curious, yes, but also reliable. She paused, considering her words. "It is rare for my kind to find such reliability outside our species." But humans had something unique: empathy, quick thinking, and the ability to see solutions others couldn't. That combination had saved his team more than once, and it seemed it might save a Virely too. Their peaceful walk was interrupted by a sudden alarm. A small lab experiment involving a luminescent plant had gone haywire, its rapid growth threatening to spill into the corridors. Zyra's glow flared with alarm, a reminder that the mating season still left her reactive to environmental stressors. "Don't worry, I've got this," Ethan said calmly, moving forward. He used a small, handheld device to create a containment field around the plant, carefully guiding its growth back into its designated area. The plant seemed to hesitate, as if recognizing the intelligence guiding it. Once it was secure, Ethan stepped back, wiping sweat from his brow. Zyra's eyes were wide with admiration. "You handled that perfectly." Ethan had grown used to hearing laughter from aliens. It was rare, but when it happened, it was always genuine. He realized that in this moment, he had done more than help stabilize her pheromones. He had earned a friend. They returned to the lab where the containment device still hummed quietly. Ethan showed Zyra how to monitor her environment and use the device when needed. She followed his instructions closely, her antennae twitching in concentration. "You are quite capable human," she said finally. "Perhaps you are not so fragile as your body suggests." Ethan realized that the challenge of helping Zyra through mating season was more than a scientific experiment. It was a test of patience, ingenuity, and empathy. He had learned to interpret her signals, anticipate her needs, and adapt his approach on the fly. As he prepared to leave for the night, Zyra's glow shifted to a warm, soft color, a silent acknowledgement of gratitude. Ethan nodded, feeling a rare warmth in his chest. Humans were often the outsiders, the species that didn't fit naturally into the cosmic puzzle. Yet here, in this strange, beautiful, and chaotic place, humanity's qualities, curiosity, cleverness, and empathy, had made a difference. Little did he know this was only the beginning. Zyra's species had long memories, and helping her through this crisis would come with unexpected consequences. But for now, as he walked back to his quarters, Ethan allowed himself to savor the small victory. A life saved, a friendship formed, and the comforting knowledge that humans, however fragile they might seem, could shine brightly when it mattered most. And in the quiet hum of the station, as lights shifted and the stars winked outside the viewports, Ethan Carter felt the familiar thrill of adventure. The universe was unpredictable, sometimes dangerous, but also full of opportunities for those willing to think, care, and act. For Ethan, the night ended not with fear or fatigue, but with a sense of purpose. Humanity had earned its place among the stars, one clever, compassionate act at a time. And in the glow of Zyra's peaceful light, he saw proof of it. A reminder that even the smallest, most ordinary human could change the life of an extraordinary alien. The next morning, Ethan woke to the familiar hum of the Interstellar Research Station. The corridors were quieter than usual, giving him a moment to breathe before the chaos of Zyra's mating season returned. He had thought last night's work would be enough to stabilize her, but the Virel's cycles were unpredictable. By the time he reached the lab, Zyra was already awake. Her glow was brighter than it had been yesterday, flickering like a living aurora. Ethan swallowed nervously, knowing that her excitement meant the station could quickly become chaotic. "Good morning," he said carefully. "How are you feeling today? Let's make sure your environment is safe." He glanced at the small containment device they had used yesterday. It was functioning, but he realized it would need reinforcement. He quickly grabbed some tools and began constructing a larger, more robust version. Zyra watched him with fascination. Humans were odd creatures. Fragile, yes, but clever in ways her species rarely encountered. The way he analyzed the problem, adapted his tools, and remained calm despite the growing chaos impressed her. She twitched her antennae in what he interpreted as approval. As the day progressed, it became clear that Zyra's mating season was far more intense than either of them had anticipated. Her pheromones spread more widely than the containment device could manage at first. Plants in the lab began to grow rapidly, curling toward the light in strange, almost animated ways. A small group of alien interns in the station froze in confusion, some laughing nervously, others backing away from the chaos. Ethan moved quickly, deploying his enhanced containment device. "Stand back," he called. He activated the field and the plants slowed their frantic growth, coiling neatly within the protective barrier. Zyra exhaled in relief, her glow softening slightly. "You humans," she murmured, "you think quickly." Zyra's pheromones had started affecting the station's electronics. Lights flickered, communication panels beeped unpredictably, and a maintenance robot began to follow Zyra in a slow, hypnotized circle. Ethan quickly realized he needed to improvise. "All right, time for Plan B," he muttered to himself. He opened a small kit of tools he had brought and began constructing a neutralizing field. It was crude, cobbled together from spare components, but it had to work. Within minutes, the electronics stabilized, the lights stopped flickering, and the maintenance robot paused, seemingly confused by its sudden lack of instructions. Zyra looked at him with wide eyes. "You handle many problems at once. You're kind, remarkable. Chaos is part of our nature." By mid-afternoon, the station's common area was showing signs of Zyra's influence. Smaller creatures, drawn to her pheromones, were following her around in curious patterns. Plants near the windows were reaching for her as if she were the sun itself. Even some of the older Virely staff were keeping a cautious distance, unsure of how to manage her surging energy. Ethan took a deep breath. "Okay, let's make sure we're organized," he said. "We need to contain the pheromones, calm the environment, and make sure everyone stays safe." He started assigning tasks to other staff members, showing them how to assist without alarming Zyra. He explained simple gestures that would redirect her attention, tips for managing her glowing signals, and ways to strengthen the containment devices. For the first time, the other species on the station began to notice the value of humans. They were fragile physically, yes, but their brains worked in ways that were flexible, inventive, and fast. A few of the Virely interns watched in fascination as Ethan managed multiple problems simultaneously, keeping Zyra calm while stabilizing the environment. As the day wore on, Zyra's energy spiked again. She began to move rapidly through the corridors, her glow pulsing brighter and brighter. Ethan followed closely, his eyes scanning for hazards. The growing excitement in the station caused minor accidents. A small hover cart tipped over, spilling tools. A set of experimental plants grew into the walkway. A few maintenance drones began circling unpredictably. Ethan acted quickly. He redirected the drones, repaired the cart, and guided the plants back into containment fields. All the while, Zyra followed his movements, seemingly trusting him more than anyone else on the station. Her glow softened slightly as he spoke to her in calm, reassuring tones. "You see," he said gently, "everything is okay, we just have to stay focused. You understand me in ways others do not." He monitored her closely, making small adjustments to the devices he had built throughout the day. Zyra's glow finally dimmed to a calm shade, signaling the end of this surge. She lay down, antennae twitching in soft, rhythmic movements. Ethan watched her with admiration. Humans often relied on technology, but their greatest strength was their ability to understand, empathize, and act with intelligence in unpredictable situations. "You are invaluable human," Zyra whispered. "Perhaps your kind underestimated. Anyone could do this if they cared enough." Stars glittered in endless patterns, and the gas giant below cast shifting colors across the station's hull. He felt a deep sense of purpose. Humans were outsiders in this universe in many ways, yet they could make a difference where it mattered most. A single clever idea, a patient action, or a compassionate choice could change the outcome of events far beyond their physical capabilities. As he returned to check on Zyra one last time before resting himself, he noticed her antennae twitching in a steady rhythm. The glow of her body was calm now, a soft luminescence that seemed almost peaceful. He smiled quietly. This was only the beginning. The mating season would continue for several more days, and the challenges would grow more complex. But Ethan felt ready. Humans thrived on challenges. They adapted, they thought, they solved problems, and they cared. The next day would bring new chaos, he knew. Perhaps the station would be overwhelmed, perhaps more accidents would occur, yet he had a secret confidence. Humans were not the strongest physically, nor the fastest, nor the most naturally gifted in interstellar survival. But they had heart, mind, and courage. That combination could navigate any storm, calm any panic, and find solutions where others saw only despair. Ethan settled into a quiet corner, reviewing the data he had gathered about Zyra's cycles. He noted patterns, peculiar behaviors, and potential triggers for surges. His mind worked quickly, already forming strategies for tomorrow. The Virely elders might not fully trust humans yet, but by the end of the week they would see that this fragile species, with their peculiar customs and unpredictable habits, could handle crises that others could not. A small smile crossed Ethan's face. He thought about the adventures ahead, containment issues, station-wide disturbances, and the occasional surprise from Zyra herself. For every problem there was a solution, and for every challenge humans had a unique advantage. Zyra shifted slightly, her glow flickering faintly in response to Ethan's presence. "I feel safer," she admitted quietly, "because you are here. We'll get through it together." While other species might underestimate humans, Ethan knew that in the chaos of the universe, their unique traits could turn disaster into opportunity, fear into triumph, and strangers into friends. He glanced once more at Zyra, her form peaceful now, and felt a flicker of excitement. The next wave of challenges would come, and with it, more chances to prove that humans were not to be underestimated. They were clever, resourceful, and resilient. In a universe of endless possibilities, they were survivors, and sometimes that was enough to change everything. Ethan woke to the sound of a soft chime echoing through the station's corridors. It was a signal he didn't expect. The Virely elders wanted to see him. His stomach tightened slightly, though he reminded himself that he had done nothing wrong. Helping Zyra through her mating season had been necessary. Still, humans were often viewed as outsiders, and involvement in such a delicate cultural matter could be complicated. He quickly dressed and made his way to the council chamber. The doors slid open with a hiss, revealing a semicircle of elders seated on floating platforms. Their skin shimmered with deep, shifting colors, and their eyes glowed like small stars. The eldest, a towering figure named Vale, leaned forward. "Human," Vale's voice resonated, calm but firm. Your involvement with Zyra during her mating season has been unusual. We must discuss your continued presence. In our culture, any being assisting during mating season is considered part of the process. Leaving prematurely is dishonorable. Until she has fully stabilized, your presence is required. Your species is fragile, yes, but clever. We believe your involvement ensures her safety. However, Vale paused, his expression unreadable. You must respect our rules and learn our ways. You will follow instructions, human, and act with care. He realized that while helping Zyra had earned her trust, it also bound him to a responsibility that went beyond personal choice. He had become, in a sense, part of her culture for the time being. Returning to Zyra, he explained what had happened. Her glow shifted through colors Ethan had learned to interpret: curiosity, amusement, and something like pride. You are now bound to me, she said quietly, her voice melodic. Not in the way you fear, but in the way our culture dictates. You will remain for the duration. Zyra's energy surged again, more powerful than before, testing both Ethan's patience and his ingenuity. Her pheromones spread through the station, affecting small creatures and even some alien plants. The containment devices he had constructed were working, but just barely. He had to constantly adjust them, add new filters, and redirect unstable elements. Zyra, meanwhile, followed him closely. It was clear that she had come to rely on him not only for safety, but also for guidance and reassurance. Her trust was a subtle but powerful force, and it encouraged him to remain calm, focused, and inventive, even as chaos threatened to erupt around them. At one point, a minor incident occurred in the station's botanical wing. A cluster of flowering plants had absorbed some of Zyra's pheromones and begun moving in unison, creating a waving, almost dancing pattern that blocked the corridor. Ethan quickly constructed a temporary barrier, redirecting the plant's growth and calming the affected creatures. Zyra watched in awe. You anticipate problems before they occur, she said. Your mind works like a river finding the path of least resistance. As the hours passed, Ethan also noticed subtle lessons emerging from the situation. Zyra's behavior was not chaotic for the sake of it. There was a rhythm, a pattern that reflected her species' deep connection to life and energy. By studying her, he began to understand not only the Virely culture, but also the ways humans could complement it. He found small ways to harmonize with her cycles, adjusting light levels, movement patterns, and even the cadence of his voice to calm her when surges threatened to overwhelm the station. Other species on the station began to take notice. While humans were often underestimated, Ethan's actions demonstrated reliability, resourcefulness, and a form of intelligence that was uniquely effective. A few of the younger Virely, and even a couple of curious alien interns from other species, quietly observed, learning from his methods. Humanity's reputation as clever problem solvers grew, even in subtle ways, throughout the station. By the evening, Zyra's energy began to stabilize. Ethan guided her to a secure observation room where she could rest under monitored conditions. Her glow dimmed to a gentle, steady hue, signaling relative calm. Ethan took a deep breath and leaned against the wall, exhausted but satisfied. You have changed things here, Zyra said softly. Not only for me, but for others who watch. Your kind is underestimated, yes, but you shine where it matters. It means a lot coming from you. But their curiosity, empathy, and adaptability allowed them to navigate problems others couldn't. The next day brought new challenges. Zyra's surges became stronger and less predictable. The elders had reminded Ethan that any human assisting in such cycles was expected to maintain vigilance at all times. He knew that this was not just about caring for Zyra. It was about trust, cultural respect, and proving that humans could act responsibly in alien situations. As he worked through the day, Ethan encountered several minor crises. A lab assistant accidentally triggered an experimental device, creating a temporary flash of light that alarmed Zyra. A sudden surge in Zyra's pheromones caused a plant in the common area to grow uncontrollably, creating a barrier that blocked the main corridor. In each case, Ethan acted calmly and quickly, improvising solutions and using a combination of human logic and careful observation of Zyra's reactions. He discovered that by anticipating her emotional spikes, he could prevent accidents before they happened. The station staff, who had initially been wary of a human intervening in such delicate cultural matters, began to express admiration for his abilities. By the afternoon, a few of the elders approached him privately. Human, Vale said, his voice softer than before. You are proving that your species is capable, not merely clever in tools, but in thought, patience, and understanding. Your presence here is beneficial. Helping Zyra was no longer just a personal choice. It was a duty he had willingly embraced, and he felt the weight and honor of it. As evening approached, Ethan guided Zyra to a quiet chamber where she could rest safely. He adjusted the containment devices, dimmed the lights, and ensured the air remained balanced. Zyra's glow shifted to a soft, calming hue. You are patient, she said softly. Most beings would falter, yet you endure. That is rare. Not the strongest, not the fastest, not the most naturally gifted. Yet they had heart, intelligence, and ingenuity. And those qualities, he realized, were often enough to change the course of events, to calm crises, and to earn respect from species far older and wiser than themselves. As he prepared to leave the observation chamber for the night, Ethan reflected on the day's events. He had survived the surges, protected the station, and earned the tentative trust of both Zyra and the elders. The next days would undoubtedly bring further challenges, but he felt confident. Humans had a way of thriving where others struggled, not by brute force, but by thought, creativity, and empathy. He paused at the doorway and glanced back at Zyra, her glow steady and peaceful. Rest well, he said quietly. Tomorrow is another day, and we'll face it together. And sometimes that was enough to navigate even the most chaotic, unpredictable, and wondrous moments in the universe. As he returned to his quarters, the hum of the station and the twinkling stars outside reminded him of the vastness of space. Humanity was small in the cosmos, but in moments like these, they were unstoppable. Clever, resourceful, and compassionate, capable of making a difference where it mattered most. Ethan Carter, human among aliens, knew one thing with certainty. The universe could throw anything at him, but with heart and ingenuity, there was no challenge he could not face. And with Zyra by his side, even the most chaotic of mating seasons could be managed, one careful, clever, and patient step at a time. The following morning, Ethan woke with a sense of purpose. Yesterday had been exhausting, yet he felt ready. Zyra's mating season was far from over, and the challenges were only becoming more complex. Today, he would need to be not just clever, but proactive. The Virely elders had made it clear that he was now an essential part of the process, and leaving prematurely was not an option. Ethan knew that patience, adaptability, and clear thinking would be his greatest tools. Zyra was already awake, her glow shifting gently as she moved through the room. Ethan noticed a new intensity in her colors, a sign that her next surge was approaching. He carefully checked the containment devices he had built yesterday, reinforcing them with additional filters and adjustments. "Ready for today?" he asked quietly. Zyra's antennae twitched. "I trust you, but the tide rises." He led her to a large observation room with transparent walls, giving them space to work while keeping the environment contained. The surge began almost immediately. Zyra's glow intensified, filling the room with vibrant colors. Small creatures nearby reacted, drawn to her pheromones, and a cluster of plants began to grow toward her in strange, twisting patterns. Ethan acted quickly. He activated the reinforced containment fields and used handheld devices to stabilize the environment. "You humans, remarkable," Zyra said, her voice musical but strained. "You act swiftly and calmly. Chaos isn't a problem if you can think ahead." The glowing light shifted in harmony with her movements, creating a mesmerizing display. The interns whispered among themselves, clearly impressed. Humans were often underestimated, fragile in body, and slow in thought compared to the elders of alien species. Yet here was a human managing multiple crises simultaneously, keeping Zyra calm, stabilizing the environment, and earning the trust of the Virely. Hours passed. Each surge was more intense than the last, and Ethan had to improvise repeatedly. A containment device overheated, forcing him to quickly replace it with a makeshift solution. A cluster of experimental plants threatened to overrun the observation room, requiring precise guidance to return them to containment. Through it all, Ethan remained calm, thinking ahead, predicting Zyra's reactions, and preventing minor disasters from becoming major problems. At one point, Zyra's glow shifted sharply, signaling a particularly strong surge. Ethan noticed her antennae trembling. "Easy," he said softly. "We'll get through this together." He instructed her to move to a reinforced section of the room while he adjusted the containment fields. The surge lasted longer than usual, but Ethan's quick thinking kept the environment safe. Zyra's colors finally softened, returning to a steady, peaceful luminescence. "You saved me," she said quietly, her eyes reflecting gratitude. Ethan shook his head. No, you saved yourself, I just helped guide the process. Humans had not just reacted to the chaos. They had anticipated it, adapted, and maintained control. Their intelligence, patience, and ingenuity had prevented disaster. The elders, observing from a distance, nodded in quiet approval. They had initially been wary of human involvement, but Ethan's consistent problem-solving and cultural sensitivity had earned their trust. His presence was no longer tolerated out of necessity. It was appreciated for its value. As the day progressed, Ethan realized that Zyra's mating season required more than containment. There were rituals she needed to complete, subtle behaviors that ensured her species' cycle progressed correctly. These rituals were intricate, unfamiliar, and potentially dangerous if attempted incorrectly. Ethan studied the elders' instructions carefully. He needed to assist Zyra without interfering inappropriately, guiding her through the processes in a safe and culturally respectful manner. His mind raced with possibilities, devising solutions that combined human logic with a deep understanding of virally biology and behavior. The first ritual involved a complex pattern of movement across the room, synchronized with specific color pulses from Zyra's body. Ethan observed carefully, noting her natural timing and movements. He provided subtle adjustments, small gestures, shifts in lighting, and careful verbal cues to help her maintain balance and rhythm. Each correct movement reinforced her cycle, reducing stress on her body and stabilizing her energy. The second ritual required her to interact with small luminescent creatures. Normally, this would be simple for the virally, but Zyra's high energy made control difficult. Ethan improvised a series of gentle guidance tools, creating temporary barriers and channels that allowed her to complete the interaction safely. The creatures responded positively, and the ritual was successfully completed without incident. By evening, the third and final ritual of the day awaited. This one involved coordinating with several virally elders in a ceremonial sequence, timed precisely to Zyra's biological rhythms. Ethan communicated with the elders, ensuring that Zyra's movements were correctly synchronized. He provided adjustments where necessary, keeping both her and the surrounding environment safe. When the ritual concluded, Zyra's glow shifted to a calm, steady luminescence. Her antennae twitched gently, signaling relaxation and contentment. She turned to Ethan, her eyes shining. You guided me through the process. You respected my culture and kept me safe. We look out for each other. It was not physical prowess or natural instinct that made them remarkable. It was intelligence, empathy, and the ability to think creatively under pressure. These qualities allowed them to navigate challenges that others could not, earning trust and respect across species. The station settled into quiet after the rituals. Ethan guided Zyra to a secure chamber for rest, reinforcing containment and monitoring systems. Her glow dimmed to a gentle pulse, a sign that the surge had ended successfully. You have done much today, she said softly. Not only for me but for all who watched. Your kind shines brightly in ways unexpected. But when it matters, humans find a way. Zyra stirred slightly, her glow shifting in gentle waves. I am grateful, not just for safety, but for understanding. You see me clearly. Ethan's careful balance of action, respect, and creativity had proven humanity's worth. They were no longer outsiders or oddities. They were problem solvers, guides, and allies. Night fell on the station, and Ethan finally allowed himself a brief rest. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, more surges, and perhaps more surprises from Zyra, but he was confident. Humans were adaptable, clever, and resilient. In the chaos of the cosmos, these qualities allowed them to shine where others struggled. He glanced once more at Zyra, peacefully resting in her chamber. Her glow pulsed softly, a living reminder of the delicate balance he had helped maintain. Humanity had made a difference, not through strength or power, but through heart, mind, and action. Ethan Carter, human among aliens, felt a quiet pride. The universe could be unpredictable and chaotic, yet with careful thought, patience, and ingenuity, humans could navigate any challenge. Zyra's trust, the elders' respect, and the calm of the station were proof that sometimes cleverness and compassion were enough to turn even the wildest surges into success. He settled into his quarters, exhausted but satisfied. Humanity had endured another day, proving that small, underestimated beings could leave a lasting impact. The galaxy might not yet fully understand humans, but moments like this ensured that one day they would. And Ethan knew that when the next surge came, and it would come, he would be ready. Humans thrived where others faltered, not through brute strength but through thought, patience, and care. In the endless expanse of space, that was sometimes enough to change everything. The morning sun on the station broke through the observation windows, scattering streaks of light across the corridors. Ethan had hardly slept, but he felt ready. Today marked the final phase of Zyra's mating season. The previous days had been a whirlwind of chaos, adaptation, and clever problem-solving, but this day would be the culmination. If handled correctly, Zyra would stabilize and the station would return to normal. If not, well, Ethan wasn't willing to let things fail on his watch. Zyra was already awake, her glow calm but alert. The previous surges had left her more attuned to the guidance Ethan provided. She moved with a subtle grace, antennae twitching as she prepared for the final rituals. Ethan quickly reviewed the containment systems and the timing sequences for each part of her cycle. He had anticipated every possible scenario and had improvised contingency plans for each. His human ingenuity had been tested daily, and he had passed each challenge. "Are you ready?" he asked quietly. Zyra's eyes glimmered with trust. "I am with you." This was not just about managing Zyra's energy. It was about guiding her through cultural rituals that were both intricate and critical. One misstep could disrupt the entire process. The first part of the ritual required precise movement across the chamber, timed with specific pulses of light and color. Zyra moved fluidly, her body glowing in rhythm with the lights. Ethan guided her subtly, adjusting lighting levels and using carefully chosen gestures to help her maintain balance. It was delicate work, requiring concentration and foresight, but Ethan's experience over the past days gave him confidence. Small creatures responded to Zyra's pheromones as expected, moving in controlled patterns, guided by both her energy and the containment fields. Ethan made minor adjustments to the fields, ensuring nothing spiraled out of control. The scene was mesmerizing, a display of glowing colors, subtle motion, and careful human oversight that kept chaos in check. "You understand," Zyra murmured as she moved. "You anticipate even what I do not." Just observation and quick thinking. Zyra responded well, moving in time with the devices, and the ritual progressed flawlessly. By mid-morning, the final ritual commenced. This one was the most complex. Zyra had to synchronize with multiple elders, completing a sequence of movements that ensured her cycle fully stabilized. Ethan observed closely, noting her timing and the elders' expectations. He adjusted subtle elements in real time, repositioning light panels, fine-tuning pheromone containment, and providing silent cues to Zyra. His actions required a combination of intelligence, empathy, and creativity, qualities that humans often relied upon when facing challenges far beyond their physical capabilities. The ceremony reached its peak. Zyra's glow intensified, pulsing in harmony with the elders' signals. Small creatures moved in coordinated patterns, and even the plants in the chamber shifted slightly, responding to the controlled pheromone flow. Ethan stayed close, vigilant, ready to correct any deviation. One particularly intense surge threatened to overwhelm her. Ethan acted quickly, using a combination of containment adjustments and calming gestures. Zyra's antennae twitched as she regained control, and her glow softened gradually. The crisis passed, and the elders watched with quiet approval. Finally, the ritual concluded. Zyra's glow shifted to a steady, peaceful luminescence, signaling that her mating season had successfully ended. She looked at Ethan, her eyes shining with gratitude and a subtle sense of awe. "You have guided me through what is sacred," she said softly. "You understood not only my needs but the ways of my people. You are clever, patient, and strong in ways not seen by many." Today, those qualities had ensured that Zyra's mating season ended safely and successfully. The elders approached, their glowing skin shimmering with approval. Vale, the eldest, spoke with calm authority. "Human, you have proven your worth. Your guidance, patience, and ingenuity have safeguarded Zyra and honored our culture. You are welcome in our presence, and your actions have earned respect. I am grateful, not only for my safety, but for the care, understanding, and respect you have shown. You are a true friend." The Virely staff and other species observed quietly, recognizing that human ingenuity had not only prevented disaster, but had also reinforced the importance of cooperation and understanding across species. For Ethan, the experience had been exhausting, exhilarating, and rewarding. He had navigated chaos, anticipated problems, and guided Zyra through the most critical phase of her cycle. But now came the final challenge, leaving. In Virely culture, a human who assisted in mating season was expected to depart only with respect, ensuring no harm or misunderstanding occurred. Ethan knew he had to be careful. He approached Zyra and the elders. "I have completed my role," he said. "I hope my departure honors your culture and leaves everything in order. Your care will remain with me." She lowered her glow slightly, and Ethan understood that this was a Virely way of expressing gratitude and acknowledgement. It was subtle yet profound, and he felt honored to receive it. The station staff watched as Ethan walked through the corridors for the last time. Some whispered in admiration, others observed silently, and a few younger aliens quietly noted the human's cleverness and patience. Humanity had proven itself once again, not through force, not through dominance, but through intellect, empathy, and the willingness to face challenges head-on. Ethan paused at the station's viewport, looking out at the gas giant below. Its swirling colors mirrored the recent surges of Zyra's energy, reminding him of the chaos he had managed and the lives he had touched. Humanity may have been small in the vastness of space, but they were capable of remarkable achievements when they combined thought, heart, and action. Zyra's voice called softly behind him. "Farewell, human, until we meet again." As Ethan boarded the small transport that would take him to his quarters, he reflected on the past days. He had navigated chaos, bridged cultural differences, and demonstrated the value of human ingenuity and empathy. The universe was unpredictable, filled with challenges that no single species could face alone. Yet in moments like these, humanity's unique qualities, intelligence, resourcefulness, and heart made them indispensable. He settled into his seat, watching the station fade into the distance. Zyra's glow remained in his mind, a reminder of trust, cooperation, and the bonds that could form even between the most different of species. Humanity had faced yet another test and emerged stronger, not through power, but through courage, cleverness, and care. Ethan smiled quietly. The stars stretched endlessly before him, filled with possibilities. The galaxy was vast, unpredictable, and often chaotic. But humans had proven that they could not only survive but shine, guiding others, solving problems, and making a difference wherever they went. And somewhere in the chambers of the Virely elders, Zyra's glow pulsed softly, a living testament to the clever, patient, and compassionate human who had helped her through one of the most important phases of her life. Ethan Carter, human among aliens, knew one truth clearly. The universe could be wild, strange, and dangerous, but when humans acted with heart, mind, and courage, they could change outcomes, save lives, and earn respect, even in the most alien of worlds. And that, he thought as the stars streaked past, was the essence of humanity in the cosmos.